Okay, everyone, welcome back. We're going to get started now. Thank you again for joining us. My name is Jeff Benanto. I'm our Senior Customer and Community Marketing Manager here at Logz.io. We're excited for this one today. Today marks the first in a new series of webinars from the Logz.io team, the Customer Perspective Webinar Series. We'll be highlighting a number of innovative in-user organizations and their compelling success stories around their open source approach to observability, centralized log management, and production monitoring. And we really appreciate you being here today and trust you will enjoy today's insightful webinar featuring DevOps and security leaders from one of those customers, Jacada. I don't want to steal too much introductory thunder from the Jacada team, but really quickly, Jacada, for those of you who may not be familiar, is a customer service automation platform. The company offers a number of software solutions to help organizations optimize the customer experience for clients, leveraging robotic process automation, AI, and other innovative technologies. So that the Jacada team will go through this in more detail and share some of their customer examples. Before we begin, some just real quick housekeeping. If you have joined one of our webinars before, then you know that this will be a recorded session. So if you need to get up for a moment, you can always come back to where you left off, and you'll also obviously be able to find a recorded version of this up on our website after the webinar is concluded. And second, feel free to ask a question in the question box. We always like these to be engaging sessions. We'll leave some time at the end for that Q&A. And with that housekeeping out of the way, let's get started. As discussed over the course of the session, you'll learn more about Jacada, the technology that the company develops, and the cloud monitoring and security technology that their engineers deploy to support the performance and operations of that end-user technology. Our speakers are Alon Benheim, the DevOps Manager, and Dedi Hori, the CISO for Jacada. I will let them introduce themselves in a little bit more detail momentarily. But before we do that, I will also briefly introduce Smadar Paradise, who is a member of our team here at Logz.io. She will also be a co-moderator for today's event. Smadar specializes in our Cloud SIEM product, and she is a cybersecurity industry expert who will highlight some of our really exciting product developments later in the session, and she is also available for Q&A. So I did already cover this at a high level, but just to recap our agenda for today. Today, over the next 30 minutes or so, you will learn more about Jacada, their business, and the technology stack, with a focus on their observability and monitoring program. We'll hear about their embrace of open source, their business drivers for deploying log management and Cloud SIEM solutions, and the resulting improved visibility and incident management that has been programmatized in response to operational and security events. Through it all, you will hear from Alon and Dee, who represent a very advanced and innovative technology team that is also a true partner of us here at Logz.io. So we appreciate their insights very much. And like all of our customers, we appreciate the opportunity to learn from you. We love to be challenged, informed, and obviously we really love the opportunity to support our active customer community with this type of content. So thank you again in advance for the team here. Bear with me 1 second here. All right, apologies for that. All right, so let's get started. Alon and Didi, I would love for you guys to briefly introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about Jacada and what the company does and what your technology does.
Okay.
Hey everyone, my name is Alon and I'm the DevOps Manager at Jacada. Our DevOps team in Jacada taking care of the cloud management, CI/CD, and the monitoring these processes. And today we will talk about our experience of integration, security, and observability with Logz.io.
Hello everyone, my name is Dedi and I'm a CISO at Jacada. Welcome for today's webinar. Today I will share my perspective, point of view from a CISO perspective. But before that, a few sentences about Jacada and products. Jacada develops automation and optimization solution for customer service processes and implements them among global giants in the field of banking, communication, insurance, and more. We automate customer service processes. We develop advanced chatbot with performing operation for the customers and providing information and other data. We also develop a unified and efficient user interface for customer service system, which actually replace many different interfaces that service representative needs to be familiar with. We also develop a visual menu that help perform self-service action in a variety of channels and reduce dependencies on human response. At the end, the uniqueness of a Jacada solution set is the unified automation platform, which called the Interact, on which all company solutions are built on. The advantage for the customer is of our customers is the ability to quickly deploy without needs of code business processes between different service channels, and they can leverage the integration into business system and automation of various company processes. That's about Jacada, short introduction to Jacada product. You can move to the next slide, Jeff, please. And here, a short list about the Jacada customer. We have Microsoft, we have Allstate from the insurance, nationwide. So you can see even very big customers that use our services.
Awesome, great. Thank you for the introduction. Hopefully that gave folks some good background on what you guys do. Clearly it's a dynamic business built on some innovative technology, and it's no surprise that you have an active and likely noisy environment that requires oversight, some monitoring, some troubleshooting. So what are some of the business factors that drove you to prioritize your log management and monitoring program? In other words, why is monitoring and observability critical to the DevOps team and to the business? Alon, I think you'll take this one.
Yes. So we needed the ability to monitor and troubleshoot our environment from few different business drives. First, the ability to know about issues before users are affected is very important for us. And by monitoring operational events, we can anticipate these issues before they impact our customers. So it helps us to respond faster and reduce the time and the length of the issues. The second is monitoring security events that help us to detect suspicious activity before any damage is caused. So we can detect when someone is trying to attack us and get sensitive data from our environments. And it also gives us the ability to use these events and monitor them and automatically take an action to stop them. Better monitoring is also support regulation and compliance, since most of them involves monitoring of audit, security, and operational events. Monitoring and analyzing events can also use as a form of business intelligence. And by monitoring these events, we can identify pattern of usage in our platform that help us to manage and detect and make decisions that are related to our business.
Great, awesome. Thank you, Alon. I'm gonna move on to the next question. So those are the business drivers, but now getting started with monitoring and observability, particularly leveraging your logging pipeline from your cloud infrastructure. It was a little bit of a rocky start, if I recall, right? There were some roadblocks and some challenges. Can you tell us about the start of your journey, your log management journey, and those initial challenges?
Yeah, you're right. So the beginning was quite difficult for us, since our services and backing infrastructure built on AWS across few different regions for multi-tenancy and private cloud environments. Before we use Logz.io, due to the security needs of our customers, we consisted of separating Graylog deployment in each of these environments. Since each of these deployment was isolated, we could not migrate dashboards and visualization from one region to another. Not only that, we faced availability issue that resulted in log data being lost.
All right, that does not sound like a great start there. My guess is logs being lost and experiences that was difficult to maintain and scale. So clearly, this is the point of the session where open source is entering the chat, if you will. And my guess is that open source became a key consideration for the second phase of your monitoring journey. Can you tell us a little bit more about the importance of open source and the value you find in open source based projects and how they sort of uniquely solve these this observability challenge you have?
So the benefits of open source are tremendous, and this project have gained huge popularity in the DevOps field in the recent few years, since it provides us flexibility, speed, and cost efficiency. As it became one of the key drives on DevOps world, it is pushing us to embrace an open source first approach when we designing and implementing our DevOps lifecycle. And I think that this is the main reason that led us to choose open source for our observability and monitoring needs.
Great, makes a lot of sense. And obviously at Logz.io here, we're obviously huge open source proponents. So we are happy you went in that direction. But that said, right, so we understand that open source became essential to you and to your team, but you obviously also recognize some of the limitations that come with some of those open source projects, I should say. So why did Jacada ultimately select Logz.io to improve the open source ELK experience as a managed provider? Take us back to the start. What was the state of the business at that point, and then maybe walk us through some of the early successes you encountered with the log management solution.
So as our business grew, the volume of the logs and the maintenance costs grew too. And as a result of the issue, we had a few issues with the open source ELK solution. We start to search for a robust, reliable, secure, and hosted ELK solution. And Logz.io was found to meet all of these requirements, since it's robust, stable, secure, and cost efficient. So we had Logstash instances for aggregating and processing the logs with Graylog. And from a technical perspective, we just use these same Logstash instances to output data to Logz.io listeners. And over the time, we also migrated our shipping method to Filebit. From a log type perspective, we're shipping few types of logs: MongoDB, Docker, Nginx, and by the time we're adding more new types of logs to Logz.io. After the migration to Logz.io, suddenly the logs became more accessible for other teams. Whereas in the past, developer would need direct involvement of the DevOps team in order to gain access and analyze the log data. Developers can now independently create their own visualization and alerts. Early on, we used the Logz.io AI technology called Cognitive Insights. And with this technology, our team uncovered a number of business critical events that probably otherwise have passed under the radar. For example, Mongo document that exceeded the limit of 16 megabyte, and the other occasion, Twilio exception that says that one of the services failed to send off an SMS to user. And also, as we mentioned before, we consisted before with architecture that lead us to separate the deployments. And after we migrate to Logz.io, we had the ability to have all logs in one place. And then we created a series of Kibana dashboards that monitor our user interaction with our services. And with this visualization broken down, we just see all the different deployments.
Great. Thank you, Alon. That's really helpful. It's a really helpful way to encompass your log management story there. And I love the cognitive insights example. It's really great to see you're getting value from that to really help advance your troubleshooting of issues. So we've reached a little bit of a transition point in our session today. Clearly, Jacada DevOps has experienced a lot of value from log management, visualizing, centralizing, analyzing those logs, and troubleshooting issues. But what about security? Why and how did it become essential to Jacada to test drive the Logz.io Cloud SIEM solution to take your cloud resilience to the next level? I think this one's going to go for Didi.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, that's a very good question. First of all, Jacada takes security very seriously. Okay, we use the combination of enterprise-class security features and audits of our application to ensure that our customer data is protected. In addition, Jacada is certified to industry standard and best practices like ISO 27001, PCI 11.1, IPA, GDPR, CCPA, everything about privacy. So that's a lot under regulation and certification. And the standards were put together to ensure that the integrity and security of our customer data. But back to your question, okay? During the last few years, having SIEM become the standard in the security world. Before we used SIEM tool, it was very hard for us to search and build security filters in front of the operational logs. So we felt a little bit blind in the security area. Since the security is always in our mind, and of course in our top priority, we knew the SIEM tool would solve this pain and also get big picture and visibility of our security events. We could even analyze large volume of security logs data to identify attacks and security threats.
Yeah, I think it's a really good way to articulate the value of the solution there in terms of being able to help provide you a big picture view of your security events and risks. And I'm excited to learn a little bit more. Now that we're talking Cloud SIEM, that's my cue to pass the moderator duties over to my colleague Smadar, the real expert here. So Smadar, do you have some additional questions for the Jacada team?
Yes, I do. So Alon, tell me, did you try other SIEM products before you selected Logz.io? And eventually you did select us over the competition. Can you elaborate a little?
Sure. So our staff is very busy and we don't have the time and the capacity for long and complex deployments. Yet, as Daddy just stated, we needed a SIEM solution, no doubt about it. So we checked other SIEM solutions, but they required the complex installation, long setup time, and get familiar with these tools. Since we were already using Logz.io for log analytics, and your SIEM solution did not require any installation or deployment, it made the most sense to try out the Logz.io Cloud SIEM.
Right. So you were talking about very easy deployment, but then what else did you have to do in order to start getting real value from the SIEM?
Not much else. It was very easy and fast to value. You see, we're using AWS WAF, Nginx, Oddity, and some more product that Logz.io SIEM already contains pre-built rules and the dashboard for this same product. So once we enabled the SIEM, rules were triggered and dashboard were populated. Anyway, we plan to ship more logs from additional security product we have, some firewalls and other log types. And from quick look at the list of integration, these are already covered and they have their own pre-built rules and dashboards.
So far sounds good. Do you mind sharing how you actually use the product on a daily basis?
Sure. So we use it in several different ways, but let me focus on two of them. First of all, the reporting feature. We're using it to send a periodical report about some of our most critical environments. The reports include information about malicious IP that we suspect are trying to enter to our clouds. And we're also using the alert feature that during the onboard period, your security experts help us to adjust them. And whenever that security incident takes place now, we're getting an alert to our Slack channel, and then we can investigate it further. Usually, I'm logging to the Cloud SIEM, and then I use the threat intelligence in order to investigate these issues. Since these rules contains remediation suggestion, I'm able to quickly mitigate these issues. This provides us strong business value and help us to reduce our risks.
Great. So let's imagine you're fully onboarded now using the SIEM on a daily basis. How difficult will it be to add yet another tool, security tool, for example, a new WAF or a new EDR? What do you have to do?
Basically, it's very easy. This is when we use the combination of Logz.io shipper, Kibana, and security expertise. Let's say we are using syslog and Filelip to ship these logs to our SIEM. We just need to get into the chat with Logz.io, and within an hour, we have a parser in place. In addition, our dedicated customer success and our dedicated security analysts are there to review our logs and look it from security perspective and create for us rules and dashboards. That's what a real partnership is all about. In addition, we have the option to join our security analysts to review our triggered alerts and investigate any suspicious logs.
That sounds very helpful. It's always fun to dig into the logs and do some investigations. But now let's switch positions for a moment. And right before we move to our Q&A, is there anything you would like to ask me about the product?
Of course. Can you share what else do you plan for 2020? Any exciting dashboard and features?
I'd love that. Let me share like 2 or 3 of the useful features that we are about to release. The first one will be the rules correlation, and I'll explain. You know how you now define a rule or an alert in our platform for multiple login failure from a malicious IP within a very short period of time? That's great, but what if this event is followed by a successful login from this exact same user on this malicious IP? That's so much more powerful. So with our new feature, you'll be able to do it and create a single alert for the whole scenario.
That sounds very cool. Can I join to the beta?
Of course, with pleasure. Would you like to hear some more?
Yeah, sure.
You must be using our threat intelligence feeds to find malicious indicators. Do you?
I do. So what's new? You adding more feeds?
Definitely, we are always adding more feeds, but on top of it, we make it possible for you to add your own feeds now. So let's say you have your own researchers that have that find on a weekly day-based IOCs, or someone somehow you got hold of a good feed and you want to correlate it with your own logs. Now you can do it with our new feature of the private feeds.
It sounds very useful, this feature. There is more?
Yes, I'll share just another one. We are now supporting MSSPs, like managed security service providers, by making our SIEM tool multi-tenant, and MSSPs can open multiple security accounts and manage in parallel multiple customers of theirs.
Sounds great. I think it's very useful for us, especially. Can't wait to start playing with these features.
Okay, sounds good. So just before we really move to the Q&A, let's take a few minutes and wrap up this session and review the key takeaways from the whole Jacada's journey they shared with us today. So Jacada had auditing, security, and operation logs. They were looking for a tool to gain better visibility on incidents and to stop the attacks. They also needed this tool to provide periodical reports for their certifications and regulations. And like many DevOps teams, Jacada is taking an open source first approach. And then, therefore, they're looking for an open source solution, yet they wanted it to be hosted, managed, and they wanted to be able to scale and fit Jacada's growth. So using the proactive SIEM capabilities like security rules correlated with threat intelligence and the scheduled reports, Daddy, Jacada's CISO, could get full visibility on his environment and see the risks that he didn't see before. Or to conclude it all in one sentence, Jacada can now be more proactive around the security, protect their data and their customers' data, and they can now see things that they didn't see before.
All right. Thank you for wrapping it up, Smadar, wrapping up the main session. And thank you to Didi and Alon from the Jacada team for their contributions today. It was really great to hear your complete story, to hear about your journey. But we're not done yet. We're on to the Q&A portion. And we do have a couple of questions that were sent along. So let me just pose the first one here. And I'll pose this first one to Alon just to ask from his perspective. I think he did cover this in his session a little bit earlier, but if you wouldn't mind reiterating, how are you shipping your logs to Logz.io? And then Smadar, if you have any color as well on the shipping process, feel free to weigh in.
So we're using a few different bits, file bit, audit bit, and metric bit to ship logs to Logz.io and metrics to Logz.io. And we also have the shippers that are taking logs from AWS and from other sources.
Great.
So I'll just add that we are exactly like Daddy said, and I'm sorry, Alon. We also have a big integration team, so we can actually ship any logs, even if it requires some some code. We're happy to do it.
Still have time to get a question in if you have one for the Jacada team. So please feel free to submit that question in the question box. I have a sort of a follow-up question to that log shipping question. Alon, can you just reiterate again, what are some of the security logs that you are sending to Logz.io? Again, I know you covered it, but it would be good to sort of just reiterate some of the security logs that you ship, and then Smadar maybe just sort of offer any additional take on other common logs that you see Cloud SIEM customers sending to us.
So we can separate it to two sections. One is the infrastructure level and then application level. So we have our own auditing level based on the application log that shipped by Filebit. And then the infrastructure logs based on CloudTrail of AWS and from other products in AWS like AWS WAF, load balancers. So this is from infra perspective. We're also using to ship auditing from the infrastructure using AuditBit.
So I'll add a few more popular data sources. Of course, on top of AWS, we have many Azure customers and using Event Hub a lot of Active Directory logs, very popular, and all the security products like firewalls, if it's Cisco and Checkpoint, Palo Alto, Juniper, we have EDRs, we have Okta, customers shipping Okta, SonicWall, and many more.
Yeah, definitely a comprehensive list out there. And I'll just give a quick plug as well. If you are an existing Logz.io user, we generally try to update our user base with new security integrations every month in our customer newsletter. So that's a good source to kind of keep up to date with some of the new integrations and data sources. Another question just kind of came in. I like this one. This one is for Jacada. Are you collecting PII logs or do you drop them along the way? So PII is obviously personally identifiable information. So are you guys collecting those logs or do you drop them?
Yeah, we drop them and go ahead, Eddie.
Go ahead, Alon. No problem.
So we don't collecting any PII information. It's part of our application, and this is the way we're supporting these regulations. Maybe Daddy can add more information about this one.
Yes, that's true. In addition to PII, also PHI and all this kind of privacy data that we don't need to collect. And I think that's under this certification regulation, Logz.io help us to monitor and understand how to treat this kind of data.
Okay, good. I know PII is obviously a hot topic, so thank you for the attendee who has asked that question, and thank you, team, for your response. Still, actually, have a few other questions. So here's a good one, and Smadar potentially could weigh in if the Jacada team is not quite sure on this one. The question from the audience is, what are you using, or what is the recommended method for shipping logs from an orchestrated cloud environment, such as Kubernetes or Swarm? Any experience with containers, Alon?
Yes, we're using Amazon ECS to manage and orchestrate our containers. We basically use Filebit in order to ship the logs. And we're also using for Kubernetes Fluentd. And all of them, I think that there is an official documentation in Logz.io how to ship these logs to Logz.io, and short guide that explain how to do it.
Great, thank you. The questions continue to come in, so I have another one here. This one is kind of putting the Jacada team on the spot a little bit, but I like it, and you can feel free to answer it at sort of a high level if you will. But the question from the audience member is, in terms of cost optimization, can you estimate the savings you've gotten from using the Logz.io stack? I did not write this question, so it's clearly something that's on the mind of many engineers out there, given the environment that we're in these days. So either of you want to take a stab at just sort of estimating if you think that you've gotten that type of value from Logz.io in terms of cost savings?
I think that it's not only the cost saving in terms of money, it's also the time and the maintenance that there should be in order to scale up everything that currently we don't take care on it. So this is was most important for us, since if you remember, we talked about that once we used an open source Graylog, we just it not cost the money for us, but it cost in terms of maintenance and scaling and upgrades and everything. So this is the most part that important for us to focus on. In addition, Logz.io also help us to identify which logs is not necessarily and drop them. So it helps us to improve our application too in the term of logs.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and we're obviously really thankful that they were able to help you with your resourcing and your efficiency, and hope to continue to do that. So thanks for that answer, Alon, and thanks for the question. Nearing the end here, that was a sort of a comprehensive, broader question. We have a more specific one here. Pretty simple. What are some of the endpoints for your alerts that you guys are using? Is it something like is it Slack, or is it PagerDuty? What are you using?
We're actually using PagerDuty to collect all the incidents and manage it in one place. We also send these incidents to Slack by PagerDuty integration.
Smadar is, and thank you, great. PagerDuty, Slack, obviously very, very popular. Smadar, do you know if Ops Genie is one of our endpoints?
Yes, it is. Yes.
All right. Excellent. Any other endpoints that are worth mentioning?
Actually, we can integrate with any webhook, but of course, mail and Slack, and like we said, PagerDuty. We have many. Great.
Okay, so end of the day, if you have an endpoint you'd like us to connect to, we can make it happen. And I think really that's what we like to do. Try to make life a little bit easier for our customers out there, and hopefully folks who attended today got a lot of value out of the session. I know I did. It's always great to learn directly from our end user organizations, and we really appreciate hearing from the Jacada team. So I'm going to do a quick round of applause in my house here for the team, and thank them for joining, and also thank you, Smadar, for moderating alongside me today. It does not look like we have any additional questions, and we're just about up to our 45-minute mark. So I think it's time to officially conclude today's session. As a final reminder, this recording will be accessible on our website later on this week. We are also likely to feature this conversation on our website as well in a written form, so folks can follow along if they'd like to learn a little bit more without having to tune back in. And you can always reach us with any questions. We're available. The Logz.io team is available in our Slack community. We're available, as you'll see in the follow-up, via email. And we'll also share some of the contact information for the Jacada team as well, so that you can reach out to them directly with any follow-up questions that you may have. That's it, though. Thank you again for joining today's session, and we hope to see you at our next customer perspective webinar or any of our upcoming webinars that we have planned. Thanks so much, and have a great rest of the day, or depending on where you're located, have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.